Welcome back to the Unikaksha and a course of data visualization. So today we'll see how to implement data visualization using R. We all are very aware that why visualization is important because we generally say that one picture is of 1,000 words. So we simply want to know people that what's the insight of the data just by one diagram. So without wasting the time, this is my R studio where I have written some predefined codes or pre-written codes are there in front of you, and I'll be explaining you the data that I have used. At the same time, we'll see the outputs, the visual outputs as well, so that we'll understand how to use this particular mechanism in order to check the visuals that the data produce, in turn which provides us with a lot of insights of the data. So I have taken these two files. The one file is demographic, which consists of the information of the user, of their IDs, age, gender, PIN code, and active status, that whether they are still using your service or not. I'm having the another data, which is nothing but a transaction data, which consists of every person's information week-wise, that how many calls the person have made, how many minutes the person have spent on those calls, and what's the amount generated on those calls. So this is basically the data I have for the multiple weeks, say for 24 weeks for every customer. So I simply need to merge these two data sets, and then and only I can create a good data set on which we can implement the queries related to the visualization. And for that reason, before merging this to data set, I would first like to create an aggregated column on this particular data where a particular customer ID is repeated for 24 times. So I wanted to create an aggregated number that can represent every customer. So for example, I would like to aggregate the data of all the calls. That means I want to perform the summation of all calls for a certain ID. So that's why we will write something like this: aggregate what we are going to aggregate. So we are going to aggregate the calls with respect to the ID, and we want to implement summation function. So what it will do, it will simply perform 56 plus 49 plus 142 plus 182 plus 70 plus 63, and whatever number of calls that are associated with the ID 1001 will be summed up together, and that will be stored inside the T calls. So if you want to check how the T calls looks like, so this is basically the ID 1001 with the total number of calls as 2247, then 1002 with the calls as 2065, 1003 with the calls as 1869, 1004 with the calls as 2177, 1005 with 1799, and so on. So this is basically how we can get that merged data. And now we can combine this merged data with demographic data, so that we'll get a data something like this, wherein we'll have the age, gender, PIN code, active status, as well as the information about the total calls made by the person. So the information would look something like this. In this, we are also providing the information about the age group. So we are creating one new column called as age group, in such a way that whatever is the age of the person, based on that age, we are going to create the age brackets. So we are going to divide this variable called as age into the age brackets of people in between 0 to 30 years, 31 to 45 years, 45 years up to infinity. And we are going to provide the labels like this. So 0 to 30 is nothing but my first bracket, 31 to 45 is the another one, greater than 45 till infinity will become your third label. So this is basically how we are converting our continuous age variable into categorical age variable, which will be helpful for us for performing the later visualizations. In this case, we are calling this library called as ggplot2, which consists of the inbuilt functions that are required in order to plot the various type of diagrams that are required for the analysis. So in this case, let us start with a simple bar diagram. Bar diagram is a kind of diagram that we use most of the times in our day-to-day life. So in a bar diagram, we have basically two axes. The x-axis represents the categorical data, and y-axis represents your continuous data. So here, working is my data set on which I want to implement a bar plot. So all these plots like bar plot, box plot, pie diagram, and the other exciting plots are available inside a library called as ggplot2. That's why first you have to call this library ggplot2. ggplot is a function which is available inside ggplot2, which we are implementing on the working data set. Aesthetic defines on which variables are you going to implement this function. So on x-axis, I want age group, and on y-axis, I want total calls. That's why on x-axis, you have specified column age group, and on y-axis, you are specifying the column calls. Then the next comes is what kind of geometry you want to plot. So there are a lot of options available in ggplot. As I discussed, ggplot is not only for plotting a single type of plot, But using ggplot, you can have a pie chart, you can have a bar diagram, you can have a histogram, you can have a box plot, and lot of other variety of the plots can also be plotted using the ggplot. So here we are using this geometry underscore bar to plot the bar plots. Start is equal to identity indicates that the height of y will be directly taken from the y-axis, that is nothing but using the total number of calls. Fill is equal to green is very simple to understand, that we are going to add green color to this particular diagram. On labels, we have x-axis labeled with the age group, y-axis labeled with the total number of calls, and title to this entire diagram that we want to assign as a bar diagram. So if I simply run this is a kind of plot that we will get, that the age groups are present on the x-axis and the total number of calls that we have are on the y-axis. Similarly, if I want to simply reorder this bar graph, I want that the smallest calls or the smallest number of total calls should be displayed. That bar should be displayed at first, and gradually the bar height should increase. And in that case, I just have to add one argument called as reorder. And the rest of the query is almost similar, that you are passing the aesthetics, X as age group, Y as total calls, but you want to reorder those calls with respect to age group using calls. That means the ones which are having the least calls will be plotted first, and gradually the number of calls would increase. Again, the geometry that we want to plot is a bar plot. That's why we are writing bar plot with the identity as a stat and color that you want to give as green. Labels, you are assigning X as age group, Y as total calls, and again the title is a bar diagram. So this is how it would look like. I just hope you are able to understand the difference. Previously, we were having as per the age groups that are written in the data. Now you are having the bars as per the age group in an ordered way. That means the bar with the height, smallest height will appear at the top, will appear first, and gradually the bar height would increase. Sometimes we want to create a diagrams in such a way that it should not take more of your vertical space, and so we want to flip the coordinate. Now in this case, if you write x is equal to calls and y is equal to age group, it will be wrong, because on the ggplot, your x-axis has to be categorical and your y-axis can be continuous. And that's why we cannot change the columns while we are writing the aesthetics. So what can we do, or what can be done in such situations? In such situations, you can use something called as coordinate flip. What the coordinate flip will does for us is, it will convert your x into y and y into x, and that's the result. You will get the plot like this. So here, as you can see, it's the same plot that you are getting, but in this case, the plot is given in such a way that it is representing the flip kind of coordinate. That means you are having more of horizontal type of data than having the vertical type of data. So this is basically what we mean by flipping the coordinate. Next is, there is one more concept which is called as a stacked bar graph. What does the stacked bar graph indicates? So suppose you want to add one more dimensionality to your diagrams. So in the same bar graph, I want to add one more dimension, say gender. So what can be done in this case? We'll use ggplot as the name of function, working being the name of data set, aesthetics, we are going to pass only x-axis, that is nothing but the age group, because this x-axis we are again further going to divide into one more dimension, that is nothing but gender. Here in a geom bar, we will again fill this using the gender. So if you have just checked in a previous cases, we used to write fill is equal to the name of color. But in this case, in a fill, we are directly passing one more aesthetic, because we want to fill those bars with one more variable, that is nothing but gender in our case. And we are passing this labels as age group, number of customers, and total title to this bar diagram as a stack bar chart. In this case, if you don't specify the colors of your choice, there will be the default colors that will be given to those bars. But if you have a specific choice of your colors, then you can specify the color values inside the scale fill manual. So here the red and green is the choice that we are entering. Again, if you want to flip this, you just have to write any script of your choice, any script in a sense, any plot script of your choice, and simply write at the end coordinate flip. So whatever you are performing, that will be flipped in this way. So there is one more way of plotting the bar graph that is called as the dodge way of plotting the bar graph. So as you can see here, we have performed the dodge. Dodge provides you the similar type of information as relatable to your stack kind of bar diagrams. But in stack, you get the bar diagrams one above the other. On the other hand, whenever you perform dodge, that time you get the bars one beside the other. So for example, again, I am having the x-axis as age group. On y-axis, I'm going to fill that with the gender. I know that gender consists of two values, that is male and female. That means my bar will be either stacked, like in a previous case, or I have to plot them one beside the other. So that is like male and female is drawn like this. And then it's mandatory to write position is equal to dodge. Labels, we are specifying X as age group, Y as total customers, and the total title given to this entire bar graph is multiple bar chart. So these are few of the ways using which we can plot, a very good quality plots. So I just hope in this session it was clear for you how to perform the basic visualization. In the next session, we'll come up with more such ideas about the visualization in R. Till the time, stay tuned. Thank you.